إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على حي على حي على حي على الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
الحمد لله نحمده ونستعين به ونسترشده ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فهو المهتدي ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا أوصيكم عباد الله وإياي بتقوى الله وأحضكم على طاعته وأنهاكم عن مخالفته وأستفتح بالذي هو خير وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد, dear brothers and sisters, today I would like to share with you some thoughts about civilization, and in particular the Islamic civilization. It is the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He created the human race as a civilized race. We are different from other creatures that live like us and similar to us. They reproduce, they eat, but we are very different from them in the faculty of intellect, in the faculty of thinking and building on the heritage that we inherited from other people before us. So every generation of us, of human being that comes, benefit from the previous generation, improve on what the previous generation did. And this is unique. Only human beings are endowed with this gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in the history of humanity, we see many civilizations. We see civilization in China, that had been for many centuries, civilization in in Korea. We see even in South America. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this a feature of the human life on this earth. And then came the human civilization that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala entrusted to Muslims, led by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And there are many points that we can talk about. But the first point we can talk about and mention, which is very strikingly something very particular to this civilization, that an illiterate person, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, an-Nabiyyu al-Ummi, was able to establish such a civilization. And someone who did not write or read was very keen on education and on establishing ilm in every aspect of the society. And he called on his companions, he called on every Muslim to continue this legacy, to continue this tradition. And he promoted knowledge, he promoted science, which is very amazing for us. But if we know as Muslims that he is the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is the messenger that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent as rahma lil alameen, it becomes no wonder to us that he established this civilization despite saying in our modern terms, he is not qualified to establish such a civilization. But this is the gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the miracle of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that he was given the Quran, he was given this insight, and we as Muslims inherited this insight from him. This is a very important point because it leads us to the second point, that other civilizations, their point of reference was a human point of reference. If we look at the Chinese civilization, for example, Japanese civilization, other civilization, it was established by empires, human being. The only exception is the Islamic civilization. The reference is not a human being. The reference is not even the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The reference is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator. And why this is important? Because the standard that is set by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not change. It's not that one emperor come, one king come, and he said, those who came before me were wrong. I will change it. I will do this. This is something different. We in the Islamic civilization, we had one standard, and all were subject to this standard. The Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam that manifested this. So there is a reference that is, first of all, a high standard, does not change at the wish, at the desires, at the whim of someone. It remains standard. It remains all the time. Whether in the days of the Prophet, our days, we know what is right and what is wrong. And if someone made a decree, what was wrong will be right, we will say to him, take it away. Even if he enforced it on people, people would repulse it and would revolt against it, because our reference is the divine reference of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third point about this civilization that was established initially by one race, the Arabs, who supported the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and went to conquer other nations. Though we see among the Sahaba of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam people from different races. We see Suhaib, who was a Byzantine, Suhaib al-Rumi. We see Salman al-Farisi. But individuals, the majority of the Fatihin, those who did Fath, were Arabs. And they carried this civilization for perhaps 1 or 2 generations. But again, this is one of the wonders of the Islamic civilization, that it was open to everyone, open to any race, even open to any religion. If you look at the Western civilization, the dominant civilization today started in Europe, in England, then France, Germany. It's a white man civilization. It's a monopoly. Even colonies that were not Muslims. Sometimes we complain that we Muslims were deprived of this. Even colonies that were Christians like them, for example, in South America, they were deprived the tools of civilization. But in Islam, let's look at how this was open to everyone, how everyone was welcome, whether you are an Arab, whether you are a Ajam, as we say, or wherever you are, from Persia, from Afghanistan, from India, the doors were open, whether we are. And within 2 generations, we see a complete turn. In fact, if you look at the scholars of Islam, within 2 generations, the majority of them were non-Arabs. The majority of them were from different places, some from Persia, some what we know today as Afghanistan, some from India, from everywhere. Everywhere Islam came, and they became the masters of the civilization. Not that they were assistant. No, they became the masters, and they were recognized as such and respected as such. So the contribution of every race was open. It was not a monopoly on one generation. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned to us in the Quran. وَإِن تَتَوَلَّوْا يَسْتَبْدِلْ قَوْمًا غَيْرَكُمْ ثُمَّ لَا يَكُونُوا أَمْثَالَكُمْ. If you turn your back, if you become lazy, someone else, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will bring forward, and they will be better than you. And indeed, we see scholars among the 2nd or the 3rd generation of Muslims who were much better in their qualities than the Arabs. And I will cite one example only. There is a scholar who was originally from Afghanistan, Al-Qasim ibn Salam. This scholar, his father could not speak Arabic properly, but he was intelligent as a young man, and his father, who became a Muslim, so he is a 2nd generation Muslim, took him to the madrasa, to the kuttab, and he said to the teacher, my son is very smart, teach him. This Al-Qasim ibn Salam became a great scholar of Arabic language, not of fiqh. Fiqh maybe you can, but of Arabic language, of hadith. And he has a book that is a reference till today called Gharibul Hadith. The strange words of hadith, he would explain it in Arabic. He has a book about Islamic finance called Al-Amwal. Someone who came from nowhere in our today's standard, but became a scholar to the extent that Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he said he is our ustaz. So this is how the Islamic civilization was built. It was not one group, one race. It was not a monopoly. It was open to everyone. And everyone is welcome, and everyone will be promoted and will be awarded the right position within this civilization, regardless of where they are coming from. This is, again, because it was an Islamic civilization, a divine civilization. It was not a human civilization. And this is very different from every other civilization that the human race have witnessed. Another point to reflect about is that we have seen in many other civilizations religion becoming a tool of the government, a tool of the sultan, of the king. And we see that the clergy, the imams, the scholars of that religion, they are basically sharing the proceeds of government with the sultan, with the king. They are tools in his hand, so he could talk to the people through them. To the contrary, in our Muslim tradition and Muslim history, our scholars, our imam were at the forefront against the sultan. If there is injustice, the people will resort to them and they will be willing to defend the right of the people. If the sultan or the king put taxes that were too high, who will talk about this? The sheikh, the ulama, they will talk to the sultan, even at the cost of being put in prison, even at the cost of being executed. They didn't mind that at all. So we have a completely different civilization. In the sense, we did not have a grudge with our scholars, with our ulama. And many non-Muslims wonder, why you are Muslims so much at peace with Islam and with your history, while in the Western thinking, they are not at peace with the church. There is a history of persecution. There is a bad history. And we say to them, because our religion was blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the scholars, first of all, did not form a distinguished class, that they benefit from their position. To the contrary, even today, when we look at an imam, he is wealthy, we start wondering, because the standard for us is that the imam should be a modest person, should be someone who is from the people and representing the people and defending the people. And this what happened in our history, generation after generation. The scholars of Islam were always at the forefront, defending the Sharia, defending the rights of the people, and not accepting anything that would harm the interest of the people. And this is, again, the gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that gave us. Another point that we see in the history of the Western civilization in particular, there was a clash between science and religion. We see the church trying to interfere with scientific discoveries, with scientific conclusions and theories and ideas. This did not exist in Muslim history because by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a large number, probably the majority of our scholars were scholars of tafsir, of fiqh, and scholars of astronomy, scholars of science. If you look at Ibn Sina, for example, the famous physician, he was not only a scholar of medicine, he is a scholar of fiqh. He will talk about fiqh, he will talk about other Islamic issues. So Islamic studies, Islamic knowledge, Islamic sciences went hand in hand with scientific advances as we know it today, the material science. And they all went together. And we didn't have any problem with that. And our scholars, again, were able to absorb and to build on the heritage of other nations. They did not start the Islamic civilization from zero. They looked at the Byzantine civilization. They looked at the Chinese civilization. And they adopted from them what was suitable, what was practical, and they even criticized. You will see this in many writings of Muslim scholars. They will say, this is what the philosophers said, of the Greek philosopher said, but it's not true. We tested this. They applied science in the way that we know it today, scientific method, and they reached the right conclusion. And this is why they were able to make huge advances. So this is something to reflect about. And it all leads us to the conclusion that this religion is the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not something that we devised. It's not something that we protect and promote. إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who revealed this, and He will protect it and He will promote it, inshaAllah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. When we review the history of Islamic civilization and compare it to what we see today, we see a civilization led by the US that bends the rule according to their wishes. Even one day and another you will see a different rule. And what we have seen in Palestine is a great example that showed us the standards of this Western civilization. That is a standard that could be changed every day. If it is Ukraine, it's one story. If it is Palestine, it's a different story. If we are in trouble with China and we dislike China, then we highlight the issue of Chinese Muslim. But if tomorrow we mend things with China, we will forget about Chinese Muslim. This is, again, it shows us, all of us, that this civilization is a man-made civilization that is subject, that is so weak morally. And I urge my brothers and sisters who read Urdu, I don't read Urdu, I read Arabic, to go back and read the work of Allama Iqbal. In our century, in our days, no one addressed this issue, the comparison between the Islamic civilization and the Western civilization with an insight like Allama Iqbal. And it is available in Arabic, translated, and in English for the brothers who do not read Urdu. But it is time to go and read, because the insight that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to him is something unbelievable, having written this 100 years ago. And it will show us that this foundation that we are talking about, the shaky foundation that we realize today, was realized by Allama Iqbal many years, many decades ago. And it is a lesson to us to read these and to draw from it the strength to change the current civilization, to know why Muslims are needed in the current days. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us as Muslims, not as Arabs, not as any different race. As Muslims, He gave us the amana that we should lead the people and establish truth on this earth. And this is our duty, this is our task and our mission, and we should always endeavor to accomplish it by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I pray to Allah to guide all of us to the best ways in our lives. اللهم اجمعنا على ما يرضيك وحل بيننا وبين معاصيك واجعلنا من المتحابين فيك. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين. اللهم من أراد بالإسلام والمسلمين خيرا فوفقه لكل خير، ومن أراد بالإسلام والمسلمين شرا فخذه أخذ عزيز مقتدر. اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته، ولا هما إلا فرجته، ولا عيبا إلا سترته، ولا دينا إلا قضيته، ولا مريضا إلا شفيته. اللهم عاف مرضانا واشف مبتلانا وارحم موتانا والطف بنا في ديننا ودنيانا يا أرحم الراحمين. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة، حي على الفلاح، قد قامت الصلاة، قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله.
لا إله. واستقيموا. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Just a quick few announcements. We'll start off with one announcement with regards to some Palestinian causes. You probably heard of the organization called Canadians for Justice and Peace in the Middle East. I know a lot of people come to us and ask us, what can we do for Palestine? There's a lot of action alerts that these organizations do and send out that are really helpful. So one organization that please, I think every single person should subscribe to on their mailing list is Canadians for Justice and Peace in the Middle East, CJPME. Very quick action. They'll send out action alerts for you to like do one click. You can send out all your emails to the MP. They'll tell you all about where the rallies are happening every week, because every week there are actually rallies across Canada that are happening. So just if you want a useful resource on Palestinian cause and how to promote that here in Canada, CJPME, just Google them, they'll come up right away. The other announcements I'll just go over once again. The family halaqah tonight here after Maghrib Salah. This is obviously led by Sheikh Riyadh. It's Nation Builder, Stories of the Prophet. So bring obviously your kids, your family together. Hifz School as well, it runs from Monday to Thursday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and Friday from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. So you can enroll your kids into the Hifz program here as well. And lastly, there's evening school at Al-Falah as well from Monday to Thursday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And registration actually is going on right now, so please contact the mosque for registration details. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
الحمد لله. He's my son, by the way. ما شاء الله. I didn't recognize.